evening, everybody. Thank you. My name is Valerii Minenko. I am a founder of Twigames Studio, and tonight I will moderate our panel discussion, and we will talk today about social impact of games. So we have here 4 speakers. They were chosen not randomly. They all have something to tell about that. They all work on some projects that have more or less obvious social impact, I would say. And we'll start with that. I will let them to introduce themselves. So please do that.
Okay, nice. Cool, thanks for the introduction. Thanks for having us. My name is Jiri. I'm one of the co-founders and the chairperson of the Sustainable Games Alliance. I have, I think, 23 years in game development, going from indie game developer to VP of technology at Disney and a whole bunch of other things in between those. And the Sustainable Games Alliance is a recently founded non-profit that focuses on helping the games industry to become like a more sustainable industry, to figure out how do we measure, how do we calculate the kind of footprint of making games, and then have a conversation about how do we reduce that footprint. So I guess that's my part in this.
Okay, hello. I'm Gerson da Silva. I'm from Uruguay. Aside from being the game design director of Ironhide Games, I founded 4 or 5 years ago Totem Games, that is a small studio that focus on develop social impact games, like games for sustainability, for inclusion, and for education. We have launched on 2023 Water 2050, that is a game about water sustainability and raise awareness. And this year we launched an adventure, a mobile adventure for blind people. The idea is to allow them to play, thinking that playing it's a human right. That is my angle. Thank you.
Hello, hello everyone. My name is Oleksandr Blahodarenko. I'm in the CEO of the Bini Games. I'm in game dev industry 16 years. As the CEO of Bini Games, I'm working 2 years. And our company focusing on the development, educational and entertainment games for kids, for the audience from 2 to 5 years old. And this is the age which have the most important timing during which you can develop the most important skills of the kid, and social impact is very important during this small development window. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Oleskiy Maksymeno. I'm project manager at Stepico, and on a conversation, on a game gathering, I have a selection about the community building. We have a community with the players who play in Hearthstone. We're making tournaments and charity. We are donating to a Ukrainian army. So I'll be there more for a perspective as what's going around the game, not about the game development more. Thanks.
Thank you. I would like to start with a bit more detailed conversations with each of you to understand, like, to learn more about your project. So first of all, I want to ask Gerson about your studio and about the projects that you developed. Could you tell us more information, like why did you start develop that? How did you come to that idea? And actually, what was the impact of that? Like what kind of results?
Okay. Why? It's very funny because I was trying to convince my wife to start making games. So we were both in the same thing. And she told me that, okay, but only if we made social impact games. So we start doing so. That is why. The impact is difficult to measure. That is something that Jiri mentioned, and I don't know if I pronounce okay your name, okay, but it's the most difficult part of our games is to know the real impact they are having. Until now, what we know is that, for example, the Libertaria, that is our game for blind people, has a small but very interesting impact on the blind community of our country. When we start creating this game, we wonder if blind people usually plays, and we meet with this community, and they mention that they use cell phones every day for WhatsApp and things like that, but no one in the meeting have ever played a video game. So that is something to consider. And well, they have the opportunity to play one game and they enjoy it. So for us, it was a small victory.
Okay. And yeah, Alexei, like as you're having a mic. We're going to discuss with you like how building the community around games can help people, not like games themselves. So yeah, could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. But first of all, I have a question to my previous speaker about the blind game. For me, it's interesting. How are you testing the games? Are you have blind testers, or you just close your eyes and testing the game?
No. We test the game with this community that helps a lot. For us, was very important to understand how to manage the controls. I have made a huge diagram on how to control the game, and when we test with them, we need to fall back to a more simple version. But in the end, it ends being a very simple and comfortable to play game that was something that was unexpected for a game for blind people. So yeah, we use a lot the community to help feedback along the development process.
Okay, that's great, thanks. I heard before only about one game, but it's not developed for blind people, but blind people playing it is one to Switch, for a Switch, maybe you heard about it. It's really well fit for blind people because there is more about the movement and vibration control. And that's pretty good. Yeah, and moving back to a question regarding the community. Yeah, we have a lot of course, a lot of social impacts because it's a community. People are communicating here, they're growing. We have same goals which we want to achieve. One of the interesting story which can I tell to you, one of my content making is the main guy who making content. He is paralyzed. He broke his neck while jumping in the pool. And now he is locked in his bed, and almost every day he is living in a bed. And I think that part with his involvement, with his making content for us, he's really well socializing. He's important part of the team, and he's doing his work really well. Besides of it, he can't work with his fingers, only hands. And that's one of the success story of our community. Yeah, so I think we'll try to make a comfortable area for players. We make internal ranking system for our players. We're trying to help to other communities. Of course, we made a lot of charity for army. My father is a soldier, and we donate for him some monies which we have from our events, and trying to help on such way. Thanks.
Thank you. Jiri, you're kind of co-founder founder, of non-profit organizations that supports sustainable development. So, as I understand, you're trying to communicate with game development companies to make them, like, I don't know, make their business like more responsible. Could you tell us more about it, and probably like some insights, like other actually want to talk to you, like what is their reaction?
Okay, cool. So I think I need to give a little bit of backstory on how we ended up founding the SGA. So this goes back to like almost 2 years ago. We did a YouTube show called 10 Weeks to Save the Games Industry with Maria, who's the managing director of the SGA. And we basically just traveled around Europe for 10 weeks. We interviewed about 40 different, gaming studio founders and CEOs and investors and board members and whatever. And we just asked them like, hey, like, we kind of won. The nerds have won. We are one of the biggest entertainment mediums in the world. And what does that mean? Like, do we have responsibilities that come with being this huge industry? Where do we stand on sustainability? What does your company do when it comes to sustainability? And the reality was that most people would say things like, well, we recycle at the office, so I think we're pretty good. Or we put some windmills in the game. We have the recycling symbol in our game, so I think we're doing everything we can. And so we came back from that trip and we're going like, okay, like it doesn't sound like we as an industry are fully aware of kind of how big we are and how influential we could be. Like I don't think, or we kind of felt that we're not taking ourselves seriously enough. And then when you look at the world, when you look at climate change, it's kind of this. You always have people saying that, well, like, in the end, because China is emitting so much, we should do nothing in Europe, or because steel production is creating so many emissions, we should do nothing in the games industry. But this is, of course, bullshit. Like the reality of climate change and of the kind of the change that needs to happen is that everything has to change. Like the way we do business throughout the entire society, everything has to change. And so I guess, so what I'm getting at is that we realized that even though like we reach billions of people, the games industry reaches whatever, 3 to 4 billion people, we don't really take ourselves seriously. We don't really even understand what our footprint is. We don't have any serious efforts to measure anything. So basically what we're trying to do with the SGA is just change that. And first, just get to a point where we have, a global, universally accepted way of measuring and calculating and reporting on sustainability issues. And then once we start getting comparable data, then we can start having a conversation about, is recycling at the office enough, or should we actually talk about the power consumption of the devices that people use to play the games and whatnot. But first step is data, and then we get to, action once we understand what will be most impactful. So that's what we're trying to do. Sorry, I'm kind of all over the place, but hopefully that gives you an idea of where we're going with this.
Yeah, thank you. And Oleksandr, so your company develops games for kids, right? Yeah. And the tricky point is that you're developing game for kids, but you need to sell them to their parents.
Yep.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the main challenge is to assure parents that that games will do good for kids, or at least like will not do bad for them. So could you just tell us more about how it works?
Yeah, here is where the problem is a little bit deeper, because we should bring two kind of value during the development of such kind of games. One value for the kid, one value for the parent. The main value for the parent is that the kid will develop some skills during the using of our games, some kind of problem-solving skills, motoric skills. It could be some numbers, learning, alphabet learning, drawing skills. One of our most successful game is about drawing, and it's important to show this value to the parent, and in another case, you should make the game still fun, so the kid want to play it. And here is where we bring a lot of effort from our game designers, producers, analytics. We involve methodologists during the development, and it's here where we work with community, with parents, and make a play tests to keep this balance between the entertainment and education. And here is where we trying to bring some social impact, I think, because most of the games for the grown-up people is using as a, not always, but usually using as an escapism. But in our case, it's really important to keep their social impact and important value to help kids grow up and be prepared to the first grade school and have the pretty quick development of the skills. Yeah. Thanks.
Have you do you actually measure somehow like how your products impact your audience? Do you have any specific KPIs on like not about like installs or something like that, but about how it can change like kids? Maybe
feedback and reviews.
Huh?
Feedback and reviews. When parents tell us the stories, so when we help the kids to, when we help parents to solve some problems with education of their kids. We receive such positive feedbacks, and this gives us more understanding that we are doing our products right.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned it that so such a phrase that games are about escapism. So yeah, like I totally agree with it. But is it generally like bad? Is it always bad? Because when I usually hear it, for me it sounds something like, okay, like you better should go outside and live your real life and like not playing games, something like that. But I do have personal story about that. That when the war was started and we actually like escaped Kyiv because of that with my family, Nintendo Switch was like the best thing that we took with us, because on the one hand, like it helped to distract my kid from like everything for a few hours, and on the other hand, it helped me to have some rest for the same like few hours, and also like I also played a lot, and like general like first several days of the invasion, like me and my team like we start playing at some point, and it really helped at some point to distract from like reality that was rather cruel at the point. So yeah, like what are you thinking of that? Like where to find that balance between real life and escapism?
I jump in this. It's weird because I never heard anyone complain about how much books of science fiction a kid read, but he complains about how many games he play. So for me, what all start is with a misplacement of playing. We see playing as something that is bad. You should be doing something worthy, and don't waste your time playing. But for me, it's the other way around. It's the real way for learning. It's the real way for developing skills. In fact, for you, small kids learn from games, and for parents, as they are very, very young, they feel natural. Okay, they need to play, to learn. But as they grow, they are pushed to keep aside games as something that are bad. And it's not that way. It's the real way to learn. In Uruguay, we have a program a long time ago, and it's still going, that give to each school children a laptop. So that was great, because we are very few, it's very possible to do so. But the program has no content, so we start creating games of math, on history. And the thing was that math is a signature that no kid like, but all kids in Uruguay start playing that game. And it was amazing, their involvement in such thing as math, because of it was presented in a game. So for me, probably the idea of escapism is misplaced. You don't need to create a social impact game to have a social impact. I'm pretty sure that all of us have learned something from a game that was not meant to teach nothing, but you learn something from that. That's my point.
Yeah, about that question, about the escapism, I can recommend film, The Remarkable Life of Evelyn. I think one of you can hear about that film. It's pretty popular now. It's about the guy who passed away on the age of 25. He has a sick, degenerative muscular disease. And his parents think that he hasn't life, because he every day playing computer, sitting on his chair, he can't communicate with other people, he can't find his love, he can't even drink alcohol with friends, he never has real friends. And after he died, his parents wrote a message on a blog, and they has a lot of response from strange people who called that their friends. And when he started discussion, when they check logs from a World of Warcraft game, he knows that he have a friend, he have a love here, he have a lot of social communication, but be careful. I cried like a little boy on Toy Story, all of the film. It's very huge film for that fear, and yeah, I can recommend it. And from my story, I played games while I was a child. I played games with my father on a Sega Mega Drive. I really like project from Blizzard, Rock and Roll Racing. We played a lot with my father on game, and I think my more happiness time from a childhood is when we playing games. And right now I have a brother. We have really huge difference in age, is 13 years. And now we are playing Hearthstone together, and there is a path for our communication because we misunderstood each one. The difference in age, he just a school guy who just started that period when he was growing, and I think game helping us to communicate between each one. Thanks.
We're doing more, please. Can I still jump on the escapism thing? Yeah, so maybe a bit on what you were saying, that I think it's almost weird that there's this conversation where we act as if having a message, having a social impact is somehow in conflict with being a form of entertainment, because like this doesn't really apply to any other medium. So like why are we looking at games in this incredibly simplistic manner? And because, I mean, I don't know, like as examples, like you can take Horizon. Like Horizon, you know, massively successful games, which absolutely are about, you know, our relationship with nature and technology, and yet they're just fucking great games. And nobody thinks of them as like, oh, it's a greenwashing it's a socialist mind-washing project, you know, about climate change. Like, no, they're just great games that also, you know, talk about these social things. You can take Last of Us. Like nobody thinks of Last of Us like, oh, it's this hippie thing. But when you look at Last of Us, like it's absolutely about our relationship with the natural world. So like there's no, I guess my point is just that there's no conflict between these two things whatsoever.
I think I can add here that it all depends how you interact with the games, because in some point escapism could be a bad story where some kid or grown up can ruin his life and just spend all the time in some kind of games, and it's the bad side of the escapism. But we have pretty much examples where it helps people. For example, during the COVID, when people can play some games to socialize. For example, Animal Crossing, where people not only play, they lived here the life. They make weddings in the Animal Crossing. Even some, as I remember, some kind of riots there as well. It was like the universe where people can socialize and escape from the problems which were around them during the COVID, where they should be in home all their time. And this is a good example of the escapism. As well as, I think, Minecraft, which helped to develop a lot of skills like problem solving, like logical thinking, and even in the US schools, some teachers use Minecraft as a platform for education. And a lot of kids, I think, I don't know the exact audience of Minecraft, but I think it's starting from around 10 years, spend pretty much time there, but it's not always bad. So I think this the two sides of the coin, and in all the parents, first of all, parents should keep this balance with the kids.
Yeah. Okay. Do it brave, please. Thank you. Yeah, you mentioned that Horizon and Last of Us as like examples of projects that has like rather, I would say, serious messages, like topics inside. And my question is it possible that games as a channel of communication can be so like powerful as like television that can games really change the society? Can they have like big impact on it? That's a question for all of you. Like, if you have something to say, please do. If not, you can blink to me and I will ask next question.
Yes, they can. Yes, of course.
Okay, how can we see that? How can we measure that?
Yeah, sure. Games can change the whole world, but I think the one thing that the game should be good in order to have ability to change something. Because if we mention the Horizon, we can also mention Detroit, Become Human, also really good product, not even from intelligence and from robots, and etc. is even a story about the people, about their life, how they can challenge some situations, etc. And if we're talking about the huge impact for a society, I think we should more about the games which playing everyone here, like maybe arcade games on mobile phones, like a Flappy Bird, etc. And if maybe developer will interrupt in a games which is already working on the market, some interesting things for thoughts. For example, if we make a skin for a bird and that bird is already almost died, like a dodo bird, and probably people can think about the planet, about the social problems, and yeah. So my idea is, yes, games really change a lot of things, but we need to impact on a big product and good product solutions and good solution for a change. Thanks.
Yeah. Maybe I can also jump on that, because this is, we have this conversation pretty often with our members, because a lot of them say that, hey, look, like we care about these matters, we want to do the right thing, but we also don't want to preach to our players, because they're here to have a good time, and we don't want to make games about climate change, or we don't want to make games about all these depressing topics, and I also don't think we should make games about climate change. But I think what it kind of comes down to is that gaming is a unique medium in that you make choices and you face consequences as a result of those choices. You don't get this in a book or a movie, right? So this is kind of, I think that's the right way to think of it. Like, so for example, Colossal Order, they make City Skylines, they're one of our members, and they said that, look, like it's not our job to tell the player that you're a bad person for building a coal power plant instead of windmills. Like, it's our job to just give the player these choices and then like have them deal with the consequences. So, maybe it's cheaper to build a coal power plant, but then over time, of course, this creates pollution, which then creates, like makes your Sims, sick, then you have to, invest more money into healthcare and blah, blah, blah. Whereas if you build the windmills, initially it's going to cost you more money, but then in the long term, you're benefiting and blah, blah, blah. But there's no point where they're saying that, you're doing the right thing. They're just making you deal with the choice you made, and then, which I think is a more effective way of teaching people, like actually, reach the conclusions yourself instead of, some, annoying game developer telling you what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah, another thing is that not all games have the responsibility to communicate something or take part in the environment or the inclusion or anything. It's like movies, like books, like magazines. You will have all kind of media, the ones that are involved in communicate something, and the ones that are just for fun, to invest sometimes in that. So it's not bad because of that. I agree with you that the interaction makes all the difference, but at the same time, we are seeing that the lines between movies and books and games, they are diffused now, and you have movies with interaction, you have games that have huge cinematics that seems like movies, and there is a huge media here, and even a transmedia effort that also gives opportunity to communicate, to better communicate, and to take part if you want. Okay.
And I want to add that games will not replace other medias, like TV or movies, but we already see that this difference and barrier between them become smaller and smaller, and we already start to have a lot of games which were built under some movies series, and we have movie series which were built after some successful games like Arcane, like Fallout, and others.
Last of Us.
Yes,
Awesome.
Last of Us. So it's some kind of cooperation between movies and games, which I think will become more close in the future.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you want to talk about that, but let's do it. So what about negative impact? Because games can be kind of addiction, as we all know. So it's also about gambling that can like directly negatively impact on people's life. It's about like escapism that can be radical and that can not add something to people's lives but replace people's lives. So what do you think of that, and what we can do with that? How we can make game developers more responsible?
As I told previously, my father in the army, and I think all of you know that we have a huge problem on army with gambling, and he also trapped on some step on it. And personally, I had a lot of work to stop it from his perspective, and I think such things should be also closed on the government side. So I think governments should make a huge impact like we have now. We, as you know about the news now in Ukraine, we cannot make marketing for casinos and gambling itself. Yeah, so if my opinion, I didn't like any projects like gambling. I'm even not working on a gambling. I'm from a team, probably we're creating some art, but I can't work with the creation, development, with that procedures from stealing money from people. And yes, it's a huge problem. But from other side, people should decide when he plays the games or not. It's his choice anyway. Thanks.
Yeah, we come always to the same point. We have trash movies that are all the values that are transmitted by that movies are awful. They are very good in terms of how much money they make. Probably what we need to do as a powerful industry is to consider the impact of our decisions, of our products, in the same point that consider the impact in the emissions we have while developing, also considering the impact of the products we are producing and the ways we use to get revenue. That is something that is natural and is the point of the industry. We are all doing commercial things, but consider the proposition we have and try to keep that between normal values. But that's applied for every kind of media. I think that.
Yeah, as we started to talk about the gambling mechanics, we also can say that from the psychological point of view, the gambling mechanics used in most of the mobile games and a lot of PC and console games like service, game as a service projects with loot boxes. And I think it's not the responsibility of the developers, as the question was about this. But we have some regulations from the governments like GDPR and others, and developers should build the games this way to keep the games as clear as possible, to communicate with the people, and players should understand all the risks and chances, and so not to spend the money. So the responsibility of the developers is not to steal the money from the users. If the user want to spend some money and it will bring some kind of endorphin to the user, he can do it. But developers should not steal the money from the users using some mechanics and psychological tricks.
Maybe just like I think it goes in the same bucket as all the emission stuff, that in the end, like, we are now a really large, really well-established industry that is here to stay. So I think, you know, like, yes, every developer wants to make addictive games. We want to make fun stuff that people want to play. So there's nothing wrong with that. But maybe it is time to self-regulate. Maybe it's time to actually start having this conversation between all the free-to-play mobile game studios and start establishing some norms and some guidelines on, you know, what's kind of acceptable and what's not. Because, like, as we all know, like, there's some pretty hardcore psychology that goes into designing free-to-play mobile games, for example, and not all the practices are that nice, you know. And I think the first step is to have the conversation amongst ourselves on, like, hey, like, what do we actually aspire to be? What are we okay with, and where do we draw the line?
Okay, we have about 10 minutes, and we can use them to answer questions. Do we have any?
So thanks a lot for the discussion. I was wondering, so we are here today in Ukraine, right, during the war. So do you have some, I don't know, recommendations and maybe some things you would share with Ukrainian developers, how to properly do the social impact regarding our situation right now in Ukraine, and maybe you have some thoughts on that side?
We are Ukrainian developers, so the question to
Yes, this is definitely a question, not for all speakers.
Okay, that's a tough question. I don't know. Probably there is more than one perspective on that, because the most simple version, or the most simple answer is maybe developers need to think on what the people of Ukraine are needing now as a support guide, because I don't know, games are part of your life, and it's the thing that you interact with when you are alone, and maybe take that in mind when you are developing games that probably are targeting people that need some kind of encouragement, and the game can't have that. On the other hand, I don't know, there is a colleague of mine in Uruguay that is creating a game. It's not thinking on the war in Ukraine, it's just thinking on a friend of him. But it's a game that can be played with only one hand, and because her friend has only one arm. And it's a game about being whole again and recover your identity, even if you are an amputee or you have something that makes you different from the other people. And the game try to tell that story, but at the same time the mechanics support that in order to play like people that have only one arm, or have been the ability to play even if you have only one arm. I don't know if this is an answer.
Yeah, it's not an answer for that question, but I have one interesting case. Once we had a tournament with top 1 player of the world, and before a tournament I had a quick discussion with him. I told what is going on in Ukraine, what is going from our perspective, why Russia is a terrorist state, etc. And I don't know if it's helped or not, but now that current player who has a lot of audience knows that information and probably can transfer that information to his audience, and we can work on such way, because on 21st century we had a lot of source of information, and sometimes it's really hard to find the truth according to all of the information. So I think the main idea what I want to say, if we have cases or ways for transfer our truth, we should do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm in a position to tell people in a war what to do, but I think, you know, I think everybody in the industry wants Ukraine to win. We want to support you, right? But the thing is that yeah, don't applaud me. Applaud yourselves, please. Like I'm just a dude, you know. But no. But the thing is that it's so incredibly noisy. Like there's so much misinformation. There's so much confusion. It's just really hard to understand what's going on. You know how life is. How is it to be a game developer in Ukraine? We have no idea, right? So, and I think you guys are being a little bit too modest, a little bit too shy. Like I just reach out to more. I mean, as you were saying, like we just need to get kind of the understanding and the word out there. Like, and I think part of this is on, I guess, people in the Ukrainian games industry to more actively reach out to the global games industry and just say that, hey guys, we need your help. Here's a message we want to get out to the players. Like, can you help us? Because I think many people will. And I mean, it's not on you to do the work, but it's just, you know, reality is that it's all very confusing, it's all very messy. So please, like, don't hesitate to reach out to people in other countries, because we do want to do what we can to support you. Yeah.
Jiri, after a few days in Ukraine, like, is it more clear now how we live here and how game developers like still developing games in Ukraine?
I mean, I think I already...
What have you learned during these days? Tell us.
I think I already knew that Ukrainians are pretty hardcore, so this is, you know, I think I believe that even more than I used to. I think what struck me is kind of how kind of normal everything is in the end. I think this is the thing that is really hard to get from the outside, is that life goes on, you know, work goes on, like, despite everything and despite all, like, and you could even see it in our team, you know, like the first air raid alarm, you know, we're running to the shelter, and today, you know, we were just sitting around having a beer and not reacting to it in any way. But I think, like, I think the part that's really hard to get from the outside is the fatigue, like to kind of understand this, that it's, life does go on, but you have this like constant stress, this anxiety that never goes away. And I think we can see that it's kind of eating away at people slowly. And I mean, I don't know what to say about it. Like, it sounds terrible to me that you are expected to keep living your life and pretend everything is normal when everything is absolutely not normal. Like, it kind of breaks my heart to see that, to be honest. But I don't know what to say about it.
Thank you. I appreciate a lot. Gerson, do you have any thoughts on this question? Like, do you have any your thoughts on this question? Like, maybe something was interesting for you during these days, like something surprised you, I don't know.
Yeah, everything surprised me. Imagine that I come from a country very, very far away from here. From a place without wars, from a long, long time. So for us, it's something that is only in movies. So it's hard to see when just like Jiri said, that all feels normal, but you realize that for each one is a stressful situation. It's a dire situation. Everyone has someone who cares about that it's in danger. So it's like I don't know. In a way, it feels like a game, that you are playing a game and you are the character inside one of it. So it struck me a lot, the normality of everything, and of course I was expecting a very smaller conference, quite smaller.
Okay, we have time for one last question, if you have any. No. Okay, thank you very much for this conversation.